Hey, everybody. I am really excited to be here. I know that you guys are starting to kind of work your way into this awesome webinar. I This is truly my favorite topic to start with. So as you guys start to funnel in, I just want you to hear that I'm really glad that you are here. I am incredibly excited to talk about just how to have great conversations in the real estate space and be a resource for you guys. If you are in real estate, which I think most of you are, um, that's awesome. If you're not in real estate, then I think this would be good for you in really anything that you're doing, any kind of conversation that you're having. This will be recorded, and I'll send everybody the recording as it's finished. For those of us that are in sales and that are in cultivating relationships with people, at the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you what I call my magic appointment setting formula. That way you guys can have kind of the 1, 2, 3 on what to do in order to try and get in front of clients to show them what it is that you can do for them and serve them at a very exceedingly high level. So really, really excited for you to be here. Again, this is being recorded. You can ask questions during this and it will pop up to me. So if anything pops up in your mind, you want to ask some questions, don't hesitate to reach out and I can answer them as we go. For those of you who haven't been in a webinar with me before and you don't know who I am, just a quick recap. I'm Patrick Keller. I own Crest Point Real Estate here in Indianapolis. Our office is located on the west side. That's just where I live, on the southwest side. That's where I grew up. We have 18, 19 brokers at Crest Point Real Estate. I love my team. I sell about 100 homes a year personally. And then our team does the rest. And we are just a really strong and mighty and beautiful and tight-knit independent brokerage here in Indianapolis. And gosh, like I'm in the best place in my life in regards to the team that I have that gets to go serve people. I also coach real estate agents. I coach business folks around the country about how to be better real estate agents or how people can lead teams. I coach about leadership. And then I coach about my favorite thing, which is today's topic, which is lead conversion and converting opportunities into relationships that you can cultivate and serve. So I'm really excited to do that. I've said that like 5 times. Obviously, I'm excited. Just wrapped up a coaching call with someone just about this today. So you are here if you're interested in having great conversations with opportunities in the real estate space or in sales. And I believe that when you leave this webinar today, that you're going to have a really good understanding of how to maybe change some things in your conversations. So before I get into the slideshow, I want to ask you guys a question. And in the chat, you can reply. You can reply to yourself, whatever's best. But I want to ask you a question. What do you think is the most important thing in your real estate business? What is the number one most important thing in your real estate or your sales business? Pop it in the chat here or think about it for a moment. I'm going to give you like 10 seconds to think about this. What's the most important thing in your real estate business? A lot of you are going to say, our clients are the most important thing in our real estate or our sales business. That's what a lot of you are going to say. Oh, chat is disabled. Didn't know that. I apologize. Someone put this in the question. I appreciate it. The value you provide. A lot of you are going to say the clients that you serve are the value that you provide. I want you to be thinking about this in a different way today, and I want this to like hit you and you carry it through the rest of your business. The most important thing in your real estate business is lead generation and lead conversion. Hands down. There is nothing more important than that. If you do not prioritize lead conversion, conversations, and lead generation, you won't have clients to serve. You won't have value to show. You won't have any of those things. Serving my clients is the utmost importance to me. Doing a really good job. My reputation is incredibly important to me. Their results are incredibly important to me. Their experience is incredibly important to me. But if I didn't generate business and I didn't have good skills in converting that business into business that I can serve, my value means nothing. My client experience means nothing because I won't have one. I won't have any client experiences. So I want you to shift your mindset. If you're in real estate here, I want you to shift your mindset that the most important thing for you to do day in and day out is to lead generate. And if you're lead generating, you have to be really great at converting. Okay. So today, we're not really going to get into the nuts and bolts of how to lead generate and where to go hunt for business as a real estate professional. No, today we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of when you have a conversation, when you initiate a conversation, how to make that conversation go in a positive manner for both sides. So that is what I want you to hear. Lead generation, lead conversion is the most important thing. I'm going to start to share my screen here. We're going to go through this workshop today, and I can't wait to do it. And again, if you guys want to know a little bit more about me, you can go to meetpk.co. On that website, that talks about like the coaching that I do, but more so, there's a bunch of recorded webinars at the bottom that are just really valuable information for those of us that are in real estate to have bigger and better real estate businesses. If you guys ever want to talk to me about anything, you can text me. My number is 317-364-5858. You can call me. You can hit me up on Instagram under Patrick Keller Realtor. You can email me. I'm sure a lot of you got these emails about this webinar today. All right, let's get into this. I'm going to teach you my 4 principles of real estate conversion. I believe these 4 principles are literally the foundation, the pillars of having a great conversation inside of real estate or in sales, truly in anything in life. The 4 principles are psychology, understanding psychology. Being curious is the second one. The third is having a giving heart. Making sure that in each conversation you have the ability to give something to someone. You know, someone said the most important thing to them was value. Well, yeah, what kind of value can you provide? But more so, like, how can you give based upon this individual conversation? And the 4th thing is tenacity. Tenacity to me means, you know, not only the follow through, but also like doing what you said you're going to do, fulfilling the promises that you said that you're going to do. That is what tenacity means to me. Saying those 4 principles in another way is number 1, learning how to meet people where they're at, leveling with them, aligning with them on where they are. Second, ask more of others than speaking to them. Okay, so that's speaking to the curiosity principle. If you ask way more questions in lead conversion, rather than just telling people what to do or telling people your experience or telling people your stories, it's going to help build a better relationship with any kind of lead that you talk to. Number 3, talking about the giving principle. Giving means to me, you know, showing up to help and to counsel, especially based upon their individual situation. And 4, tenacity means you never give up. You got to follow a system. You have to come through on what you said you were going to do. I'm going to tell you guys right now, there is no magic script. I'm gonna take the screen share off of this because I need you guys to hear this. Whoops. There is no magic script. There is only an understanding that every single time you have a conversation with any person in the real estate space, that each conversation has to be customized with these 4 principles. Let me say that again. There's no magic scripts for anything in real estate. You guys could go to Google right now and you could say, hey, give me the 10 most, you could chat GPT or whatever, give me the 10 best scripts for converting an internet lead. Hey, give me the 10 best scripts for converting an expired lead. Give me the 10 best scripts for sale by owner, whatever. And you guys, you'll get them. Okay? You'll get them. I'm going to tell you right now, scripts don't create relationships. Scripts sometimes create opportunities to have a conversation, but they don't create great relationships. Also, scripts are often written by people that are actually not in the industry anymore, okay? And they're not in the real-time conversations of today in today's real estate market. Scripts are going to handcuff you because every single real estate conversation, every single conversation in sales, every single conversation in our life needs to be customized based on these principles and based on the give and take and the reciprocity of the conversation. So I want to encourage you to get away from scripts and to get closer to the feelings of lead conversion. Sometimes I beat a dead horse when I feel like I'm passionate about something, and that is something I feel very passionate about. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about the first principle. We don't have a ton of time today, so I want to make sure that you guys get the most out of this webinar. Let's talk about the first principle of psychology. How do you make someone feel safe in a conversation? Okay. How do you level with them psychologically? How do you level with them and meet them where they're at? Well, here's some quick tips. First of all, this one's really important and it sounds so simple, but it's incredibly important. Prepare for their feelings. Let's just talk about real estate, okay? When we're in real estate, we often will call upon several different types of leads. We'll call upon internet leads or Zillow leads or expired leads or for sale by owner leads or Sphere, okay? Each one of those lead sources are going to have different feelings. And we have to prepare for those before we even pick up the phone call or before we start to engage in text message communication with them. They're all going to have different feelings. For example, an internet lead, somebody that just goes to your website and starts looking at properties for sale if you have a website. When they start doing that, they're not expecting a phone call from you. They don't know who you are. So when the phone rings, when you pick up the phone and you dial them, because you're a real estate broker and that's what you should do, you should be focusing on lead generation and conversion first to generate relationships that you can cultivate and serve. When you pick up that phone and call them, think about the experience on the other end before you even make the call. They have their phone right here. A number starts ringing. They don't recognize it. So what are they feeling? Well, they're immediately feeling sales averse. They're immediately feeling like, should I answer this call or not? They are anxious, like internally, like, what is this experience going to be? They don't know. So a really good way to meet somebody where they're at with like an internet-based lead is when they answer the phone, say things like, hey, listen, I understand that I'm calling you out of the blue. And that might even feel kind of frustrating for you. And I'm sorry about that. The reason I was calling is because you happen to be looking at houses on XYZ website. And I just want to better understand your situation. Tell me a little bit more. That's so much better. That's like putting the elephant in the room, addressing the elephant in the room, than the common openers of, hey, my name is Patrick Keller and I'm with Crestpoint Real Estate and you were on my website and you were looking at homes for sale. I'm curious, what had you look at this home, or where are you wanting to buy, or tell me more about your price point, or let's talk about this specific home. That's immediately going into sales. It's immediately showing them that you want an end result from this, that you're trying to gain something from it. So each time you call any type of lead or try to communicate to them via text message, I want to hear you guys say that I still believe that calling is the best and having a human-to-human interaction. However, if you're trying to engage in communication, think about where they are before you make that call. Think about what they're thinking and the kind of things that you can address or the statements that you can say that help address where they're at, address the elephant that's in the room, and level with them. So that's a really big topic alone, just preparing for their feelings. Also, the second piece of this, acknowledge them openly if needed. Okay. Acknowledge their feelings. If they're like, who is this? I wasn't expecting this call. To say things like, hey, listen, I can sense a little bit that you're feeling a little bit frustrated by this unexpected call. My name's Patrick, and the reason I called was XYZ. Acknowledge their feelings openly. Okay. Be curious. Ask a lot of questions. We're going to talk more about this in the second principle. Okay. That helps you meet people where they're at. Affirm them a lot. So when you're talking to someone, you've probably heard in sales training, like mirror them, match them, repeat what they say. Guys, people know that that is a part of sales training. People that aren't in sales know that that's a part of sales training. Do you know why they know that that's a part of sales training? It's because everywhere they go where there's a sales aspect, everybody does it. And so that's why they're probably pigeonholing all of us salespeople into you're just another salesperson, because we're doing what everybody else is doing. So for example, if someone says, well, I'm thinking about purchasing a house on the west side of Indianapolis. A lot of people would go, okay, so you're looking to purchase a house on the west side of Indianapolis. Mirroring them and just repeating what they say is only really just buying you time, and it's creating sales aversion in them. What I mean by affirming them is from time to time in a conversation, referencing what you understand. Okay. So not repeating back every single line that they say, but saying things like a third of the way through the conversation, like, hey, would you care if I recapped my understanding of what you're saying really quick? So make sure that we're on the same page. Oftentimes you're like, that's fine. And then you get to recap. Well, my understanding is that you want to do XYZ and you want to do it in XYZ time frame. And you want to do it in XYZ way. Do I have the right understanding? And here's what's awesome is even if you're wrong, you're going to build rapport and you're going to build trust in these people because you're showing them that you truly have an effort of like understanding their situation. So referencing their situation helps build a relationship psychologically between you and another person. Okay, that's what I mean by that. Also, another way to level with people and meet them where they're at is to reinforce autonomy. I read a book recently that just spoke to me so much. And in this book, it had a lot of points. But one of the points is that people will literally die over their autonomy. I'm going to stop my screen share for a second. I want to talk about this, okay? Human beings will literally die. They'll go to war. They will put themselves on the front line over their autonomy before someone tells them what to do. We as humans are wired that way. So a really great way to meet people where they're at in real estate conversations and sales conversations and in personal conversations is to reinforce their autonomy, where you, again, affirm them by referencing what you've heard. And then you can say things and you got to mean it. Okay. You say things like, hey, listen, whatever you decide to do, I have your back. Okay. Whatever you do, I support you. I want to understand your situation and I want to facilitate what it is that you're wanting to do. Guys, I don't know, last time you checked, a lot of you are in real estate here, but our jobs are to be brokers. Okay. What's the definition of a broker? Well, definition of a broker is somebody who has a skill set to accomplish a need from two different sides. Okay. And to get that need addressed and done, you're brokering, you're facilitating a situation. Okay. That's what we are doing. We're not supposed to drive anybody to anything or tell people how to do it. We need to reinforce autonomy. And by reinforcing autonomy, we are meeting people where they're at, and we're increasing the likelihood that we convert our leads. Okay. So say things like, no matter what I do, I support you. Okay. Number 6, we need to understand that real estate is often not a logical experience. It's very much so an emotional experience. Okay. So the best way to level with any type of real estate lead or opportunity is to make sure that we recognize and call out the emotions that we hear and we feel on their end. We help them try to process those emotions, okay? And then we deliver some options for them to logically make a choice. Now, all of that might sound kind of frou-frou to you, but it's true. Every real estate experience has an emotional component, okay? And that we are not ever going to win a real estate lead conversion conversation with logic. So for example, right now, a lot of people, when we talk to them, are like, you know what? We're going to stay out of the market right now. The prices are just kind of, they're too high and interest rates are too high. And a lot of real estate brokers, I even still hear it today, and I coach against this. A lot of real estate brokers will say things like, yeah, but I hear you, but here's what we can do. You know, like we can look at 2-1 buy downs. We can try to buy your rate down 2% from the seller. You know, historically, interest rates aren't that bad. And, you know, I know people that had 17% interest rates back in the day, and we start logicking with them and logicking with them. I'm trying to be logical. Logicking is not even a word, I just made it up. We try to be logical with them. And that never works, because what they're saying to you about high prices and high interest rates sound like a logical thing that you can combat, but that's actually an emotional experience in them. Like, it hurts to think about how much things may cost me as a buyer right now. Like, I'm scared of that commitment. This is painful for me to think about the payment that I have to have, right? Those are emotional feelings: fear, pain, scared. So when someone says something like that, going into logic will never work. As a matter of fact, it's going to ruin the relationship. But being empathetic makes more sense. So saying things like, I sense that you're feeling kind of fearful about the financial situation of our market today. I understand that completely. If that were to change and things weren't so scary, what would it look like for you to purchase in real estate right now? Again, that's curiosity. I'm still asking questions. I'm not making statements. I'm helping them process this themselves. Or, hey, I can sense the pain that it's going to be to purchase something in this market for you today compared to the previous markets of yesterday. I also understand that you have a situation that's in front of you that is going to make you need to move. So what do you think I can do on my end to help facilitate this process for you, and what time makes sense for you? Or, hey, what does this process look like for you when things get easier and when things aren't as painful? Tell me what you want to do then. All right? Unearth more and more and more through that emotional process instead of logicking, being logical with them. I'm saying logicking again. I want to add that to the Webster's dictionary. Last, in psychology and meeting them where they're at, trust is important. And without it, we have nothing. And it's hard to gain trust with people quickly over the phone, especially when you don't meet them. So the next few principles that I'm going to talk about are going to help you earn that, okay? I want you to hear that everything in lead conversion is earned and nothing is given, especially in today's market. People are not just going to just like answer the phone and be like, yeah, I'm ready to go and I'm ready to buy and I want you to be my real estate broker. That's not how it works, right? So everything is earned and nothing is given. You got to go earn this conversion. I give you a lot of practical ideas just in this alone, this principle alone. Let's move on to the second principle. Curiosity. Okay. How does anybody in this world get what they want? Well, they can brute force their way, go get what they want, or they can work alongside others to get what they want while others get what they want. Okay. I heard this phrase one time and I don't even know who said it. So I can't cite it. But I heard this phrase one time: the person who asks the most questions in a conversation is the one who's in control of it. So a lot of real estate brokers, I'll tell you, they have a desire to have control over this entire process. And I want to level with you now and say that you have very little control over every client process. You have very little impact on the client process. The clients are the ones that know what they want, and they're going to go and try and get it. And your job is to help them understand what they want a little bit better and help them go and get it and help them know how to go get it. Okay. So you can't really control you can't really control your clients in any way, nor should you want to, right? But you can get better outcomes from a conversation simply by being curious and asking more questions. Okay. So I'm going to give you some practical tools here in curiosity, and I'm also going to give you 10 magic questions to ask in any conversion opportunity that you have. That's coming up here soon. You need to demonstrate interest. So when you're asking a lot of questions, it demonstrates interest in the party on the other side. If you think about any like cocktail party you've been to, or you've had to go to your in-laws for something that you didn't want to go to, or you go to like your better half's work Christmas party or something, and you show up, and oftentimes you find yourself in a place where like you're kind of alone and you don't know, like, do I go engage in conversations? Do I sit here alone? What do I do? I'm feeling kind of awkward. And there's probably been a time in your life where you felt awkward and alone, and someone came up to you and they said things like, hey, like, how are you? What's your name? Tell me more about you. What do you do for a living? What do you do for work? What do you do for fun? Tell me more about you. I want to better understand you. There's been a person in your life that's done that. I'm sure you could probably think of that moment right now and how you felt in that moment right then, right? Think about every unmet real estate conversation, a conversation that you've had with someone that you haven't met or talked to. Think about it in that way. Like, the best way to foster rapport or build rapport is to just ask a bunch of questions, and that demonstrates interest in them. And when people feel like someone else is interested in them as a person, people often want to contribute to that conversation. People often want to stick around in that conversation, right? So ask more questions than you do speaking and telling and teaching and coaching about the real estate process. Make sure that you ask a lot of questions. By asking questions, it also shows that you're actively listening. It fosters empathy. Asking a question about a difficult situation is often more empathetic than just saying, like, I'm so sorry for that. Okay? I'm really sorry that you experienced that. Asking a question about a difficult experience shows way more empathy and care than just making a statement about it. Asking a bunch of questions also shows that you're very transparent and that this conversation is very authentic. And it's not a checklist conversation, but it's I want to get to know your situation more conversation. And then lastly, and most importantly, well, I don't want to say most importantly, but equally as important, you as a real estate agent or a salesperson or a business person here in this webinar today, you cannot solve their problems. I'm going to take this off share so you can see me. You cannot solve their problems without understanding their entire situation. Guys, I want you to hear this, and I want you to think about, in all of your real estate hunting and your deal, and you're trying to find deals and you're trying to find clients, I want you to ask yourself, have I been very quick to jump into problem-solving mode, putting them in touch with lenders, talking about payments? Have I been very quick to jump into that? And if so, maybe you should try and slow your roll a little bit. Oftentimes, I find myself still doing this, where I will jump into problem-solving mode without fully understanding someone's situation. And that's not a good thing. We can't really solve their problem if we don't understand their situation. We can't give anything to anyone that we don't know what is that they want to be given. Okay, I need you to hear that. So I'm going to start giving you guys some examples of, I think I can take my headphones out because I'm realizing that my microphone is on my camera. It's my headphones. So awesome. I'm going to give you guys examples of questions. If you guys look to the slideshow here that I'm sharing, when I'm talking about the principle of curiosity, I want you guys to think about it in the form of a 5-level triangle, okay, or a 5-level pyramid. I wasn't great at geometry, so similar things, I understand. And I want you to think about it like most of us were taught in school when we were younger about the food pyramid. And if you weren't, I'll give you a quick recap. The food pyramid was, at that time, the way that you should eat and the amount of foods that you should eat to be nutritious, okay? And in the food pyramid, if you were to look at my slide, in the yellow there was sweets. It was candies, it was junk, okay? You should eat those the least. They're not the most important because they're on the top. No, they're in the smallest. They're in the smallest shape because you should eat them the least, right? And then the orange, the second one down, was in fruits. Actually, it wasn't in fruits. If I remember right, it was actually like proteins and meats and dairies, okay? And then in the pink, it was fruits, that like reddish pinkish color. And then the real pink color, the fourth one down, it was vegetables. And then the last one, the purple, all the way at the bottom, the 5th level, was whole grains. That's what I remember when I was a kid. They were teaching us to eat more whole grains than anything. Okay, Indiana boy. Well, now we know not only is that food pyramid probably not correct, I also want to share with you that like asking questions should look like this. And I coach on the idea of being a level 5 lead converter, excuse me. And what that means is asking 5 questions on a similar topic. So for example, when you're talking to any type of lead, the most important thing to unearth in talking to a lead or an opportunity is to ask them like what their situation is, right? It's to unearth their motivation. It's to unearth like what's causing this desire to move. Well, the best way to ask that is, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about what your real estate situation is? And the great thing is that with that question, people will tell you a lot of things. They'll give you a lot of answers. They'll usually give you a good chunk of the blueprint of what it is that they're looking for. But here's the truth. They didn't give you everything. And you can't serve them exceedingly well unless you understand everything. So what I believe is that's the sweets question. You got the sweets, but you didn't get down to the whole grains yet. And we got to go 5 levels deep. So then you need to say, hey, level 2, now we're down into the proteins, right? Hey, tell me more about what else is causing this interest. Okay. So they'll often say, like, we want to move because I got a job, or we need to sell because we're getting a divorce, or we're getting married, or we had kids, or whatever. And that's the one sweets answer. But there's more to it, right? Like there's always going to be more. So, hey, tell me more about what else is causing this interest is a level 2 question. And then let's get down to the fruits, right? Well, okay, you've told me all this. Like, would you consider doing XYZ or would you pass on that? For example, like, would you consider just staying put where you're at now based on the situation, or would you pass on that? And if they say, well, heck yeah, we'll pass on that. Well, okay, now we're hearing that this is absolutely motivating for them. They got to make this move. They want to make this move. And then we get down to the vegetables. Okay, level 4. Well, awesome. Well, I heard you say that blank was important to you. For example, like I heard you say like moving to this area is important to you, or I heard you say that doing it in this time frame is important to you. What else is important to you? I'm still talking about motivation here. I'm still just on motivation. I'm not talking about location. I'm not talking about their price point. I'm not talking about if they're pre-approved or if they have an agent. No, I've asked 4 questions on one topic, which is motivation, because I need to understand that better. And then I'll go to level 5. And by the way, Level 5 in every topic of conversation that you have with a lead can be simply wrapped up with this like last question which is like, what else am I missing? In this example, who else is impacted by this? Tell me what they want. But you guys can literally just say, hey, before we talk about something else, like, what else am I missing about what's causing you to move? Hey, before we talk about anything else, what else am I missing about what you want to pay for a home? Hey, before we talk about anything else, is there anything else that I am missing about where you want to be? Your location. All right. Make sure you gather all of the information. Here's some really, really cool perspective around this. The reason it's important to ask so many questions about each particular topic in a real estate conversation. Okay. Your brain works and processes about 750 to 1,000 words every single minute. Your brain is just constantly chugging out, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. These are the thoughts that are in my head. Well, we can only speak, and even the greatest, like quickest speakers of us all can only speak about 250 words a minute. That's only like 20% of what is actually going on up here in our heads. Okay. Well, what does that mean for lead conversion? Well, when we ask a question, I was pretty dramatic in this slide. I said you only get 1% of the truth every single time you ask a question. It's actually more like you probably only get 20% of the whole picture every single time you ask a question. You got to get the other 80%. And you do that by asking 3 or 4 more questions about the initial question. Is this making sense? I hope this is resounding to you guys. This is what converts leads. This is what builds rapport. This is what helps you do a better job. Guys, in the real estate industry, I don't know if you can raise your hand in this webinar, but it'd be really great if you could, because it'd be awesome to get this feedback. Has any of you ever heard of the phrase, buyers are liars and sellers are criers? All right, I'm getting some hand raises. Anybody heard that? I remember the first place that I worked, I remember my leader, like in the first couple weeks in the real estate space going, hey, Patrick, buyers are liars and sellers are criers. And I was a young guy then. I mean, I was 24 years old. And I was like, hey, whatever this person says, like, I gotta believe this is my leader. They know what they're doing. And so, like, for the first few years of my life, every single time I had a poor buyer experience, I'd be like, well, buyers are liars. And every single time I had a poor seller experience, I'd be like, well, sellers are criers. And you know what I learned? I learned that I did a very, very, very poor job of understanding their situation. Who here in this group has been quote unquote burned by a client? Let's say like a buy-side client where you understood that they didn't want to buy for like 6 to 12 months, and then you follow up with them in 6 months, and then they've bought a house with another agent. Who's here been burned by a seller who's like, hey, we don't want to sell until next year, and you follow up next year and they sold and they bought. They're not lying. We didn't understand their situation good enough. We didn't ask enough questions. That is the issue. It's not them, it's us. Okay? So I want you to take ownership on understanding every single situation in their situation. Now, real quick, I don't have slides on this, but a lot of real estate people talk about an acronym in lead conversion called LPMAMA. LPMAMA. And I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of this. And a lot of real estate brokers use this to make sure that they ask and they understand the entire real estate situation based on that acronym, the L standing for location, the P standing for price, the M standing for motivation, the A standing for do they have an agent that they're working with, the M standing for money and representing money, mortgage, Are they pre-approved? And then the last A standing for time to set an appointment. Okay, and they go through this process every single time in the form of a checklist to get their answers and to set appointments. I don't think that acronym is a poor acronym. What I think is poor about it is that asking one question on each one of those topics in order is a really bad way to relate to someone. Now, what I think is good about that acronym is that if you can get a 5-level deep understanding of each one of those topics for a client, you have earned the right to assess for an appointment at the end of the day. But you don't earn the right to ask for that until you really understand their entire situation. And we want to rush to appointment. We want to rush to getting a commitment from people. We're not going to get it most times without understanding their situation. So that's what I mean about being a level 5 lead converter, is getting to the bottom of each one of those topics and many more. Motivation is the most important thing. Here's a list of 10 magic questions. You guys can take a screenshot on your computer. Sorry, you can take a screenshot on your computer. You can take a picture with your phone, or you can access this in the recording afterwards. I'm not going to go over all of these magic questions, but I believe that these questions help not only you build rapport in your conversations, but I also believe that these questions give you the tools to understand what you need to do to help that client, which intrinsically means like get a commitment from that client and work alongside that client. Okay, now I've bolded and I've italicized and I've underlined question number 3. Question number 3 is the most important one. Okay, if we don't know when someone wants to accomplish a goal, we are more often than not going to miss the opportunity to serve them. It goes back to the example that I gave before. Many times, many of us have lost out on the opportunity to serve a client because they've done it in a different timeline than we expected. And I want you to make sure you heard what I just said. They've done it in a different timeline than we expected, than we assumed. Okay? We need to ask the clients directly when they want to accomplish their goals. And guys, you need to ask that question 4 other ways, because that's what a level 5 lead converter is. So for example, you say, hey, I hear that you want to do XYZ. I'm understanding this a little bit better. Tell me, like, when do you want to accomplish this goal? If they say in 6 months, a lot of agents say, okay, 6 months, sounds great. Perfect. I'll follow up there in like 4, 5, 6 months. We'll get working. No. Don't do that. No, if someone says in 6 months, you say, okay, well, tell me what happens in 6 months. Now I'm on question number 2, right? Well, we just think that that'd be a good time. We feel like that'd be a good time. It'd be warm outside. It'd be a good time. Okay. So I'm hearing from you, maybe the summer is when you want to start. Tell me, like, what happens in the summer other than just weather for you? Is there any other thing that's going to happen at that time frame that makes it a good time to move? No, that just sounds like a good time to move. Okay, that's question number 3. Question number 4. Well, let's say this. What if like the perfect home were to hit the market, or the perfect mixing bowl of opportunity in the real estate market were to hit tomorrow? Would you move on that tomorrow? Well, heck yeah, we'd buy a house tomorrow. We're ready to go. We're just waiting for the one to hit. Guys, this is a realistic conversation that happens every day when I have conversations with leads. What just happened? That lead just went from 6 months to tomorrow. And we really need to unearth that. Oh, okay. Well, actually, I'm hearing now that you would move tomorrow. So what I'm hearing is we need to come up with a plan that you could be ready for tomorrow if the perfect mixing bowl of opportunity happened tomorrow. Are you opposed to that? Well, no, we'd be ready to go. And then I haven't even asked a 5th question on timeline yet. And it would be, hey, is there anything else that I'm missing in regards to when you want to accomplish this goal? They're like, no, that's it. I mean, we would move tomorrow if the right thing hit, but summer sounds great. Now I know that this lead just went from 6 months to right now, if we can provide the perfect mixing bowl of opportunity for them. That just prevented me from having the experience that we talked about 8 minutes ago, 9 minutes ago, where the lead's like, hey, I'm sorry, I already bought. It was just because we didn't ask the right questions, okay? So those are your 10 magic questions. If you can ask these questions and most of these questions in many real estate lead conversations, you will increase your conversions. You'll know how to better serve them, okay? Let's move on. Now we're on to the third principle, okay? The third principle, the second was curiosity. The first was psychology or meeting people where they're at. The third principle of lead conversion is giving, showing up to give. In every single conversation, you need to remove yourself from the end result of getting a new client, and you need to place yourself in the position of like, how can I better understand them? And in this situation, in this conversation, even if it's the first one you've ever had, what can I do to help them? Okay. First, you need to go into this. There's a book out there called The Go-Giver. I would really recommend that you read it. It really changed my life. Okay. Read it when I was like 25 and it changed my life. It truly changed my stars, I think. It's called The Go-Giver. The principle of the book is really to just give without expecting anything in return. Okay. To understand what we can give, we need to understand what they want. And that goes back to curiosity. And I want you to hear this. You do not get permission to step into real estate advisor, consultant, real estate expert. You do not get to do that until you have understood, their complete situation. Where they want to go, what do they want to spend, what their time frame is, what that looks like, what ultimately is motivating them, how they're going to do it, what their plan is. 5 levels on all of that. You don't get to jump in to help them until you understand that. I want you to hear that. Okay? Now, once you've gathered all of that, what does every buyer want to know? What does every seller want to know? Well, guys, I can tell you right now the 5 things, and you guys can write these down and take these home. The 5 things that every buyer wants to know, and I can tell you the 5 things that every seller wants to know. Start with buyer, person who's purchasing a home. The first thing they want to know is money. They want to know about money. And what I mean by money is, hey, what are houses costing? What is this going to cost me in a mortgage? What am I going to have to pay per month to do this? The second thing buyers want to know, guess what it is? It's money. Okay? But in this form, it's, hey, what are my closing costs? Like, how much money is earnest money? How much do inspections cost today? How much do I have to pay you now, buyer's agent? Okay, that's a whole nother webinar that we need to talk about on how to fill those conversations. Okay. How much do I have to pay a lender? Like, what do I have to do here? What are the costs of doing this transaction? The first is what are the costs of owning this home. The second is what are the costs of doing this transaction? Number 3, buyers want to know inventory, so they want to know what's out there. Okay. Number 4, they want to know the process of getting that inventory. So how do I get showings? How fast do these houses move on average? Like, how quickly do I need to move when I see something? That's what they want to know. Even if they don't know it right here, that's what they want to know. And number 5, what's the process of working with you? That's the last thing they want to know. But they do want to know it. So what's it look like in working together? What does that relationship look like? What do these contracts look like? What does that mean? Okay, those are the 5 things a buyer wants to know. I'll quickly tell you what the 5 things are that a seller wants to know. The first thing a seller wants to know is money. Okay, how much is my house worth? How much am I going to net at the end of the day? The second thing that they want to know is money. How much am I going to have to spend to make this happen? What am I going to have to spend on the house to get it there? Okay. The third thing they want to know is the market. How is the market performing? Okay. The fourth thing they want to know is the process of going to the market. What do we have to do to get the house to the market? How does photography work? What does that cost us, if anything? How does all this work? How are the signs going to work? How the lockbox going to work? How are you going to do your thing? And then the fifth thing is how are you going to do your thing? So the process of working with you and what that looks like and what your marketing is going to look like. And by the way, that's the last thing that they care about. Okay? They care about it, but that's the last thing they care about. They care about those four things more than working with you. All right? So by the way, when you go into a listing presentation, which again, I could do a whole webinar on this, understand that the fifth thing that I just told you is truly the fifth thing in their list of importance. The first is like, what is my house going to sell for and what am I going to get? And what do I need to be doing to it financially? And how long will this process take? And how is this process going to work? And then, oh, by the way, tell me about how you're going to do it. But it's in that order for most people. Okay? Got to have answers to all those things. That's how you show up to give in conversations. So when you're having a conversation with a lead or a follow-up lead, and you're doing all of these things, you're leveling with them, you're meeting with them, you're meeting them where they're at, you're asking a bunch of beautiful questions. Once you understand their situation, then you ask for permission to give. You've earned it, okay? Hey, I think I've got a decent understanding of your situation. I'll reiterate it really quick. Do I have permission to talk to you a little bit about how to maybe make this goal a reality and provide a solution to your problem? Yeah. Or you could ask a no-oriented question like, hey, would you be opposed to me talking for just a couple minutes about how I think we can solve this problem or we can meet this goal? People say, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Now, number four, the fourth principle I want to hit because we only have like 8 minutes. The magic is in the follow-up. I'm going to quickly tell you this, okay? Tenacity to me means going through and doing everything that you said you were going to do. Tenacity also means is that you follow up at the right cadence, all right? We at Crestpoint Real Estate, we have a beautiful system that helps remind us when we need to follow up with people, but we still have to have beautiful conversations on our own. There's no system that could take that from you, okay? But at Crestpoint Real Estate, we teach that every opportunity that we have, we would stage as an A, B, C, D, or E, okay? I'm going to quickly tell you what those mean, and then I'm going to quickly tell you how often you need to follow up with them, okay? If you want more advice from me on what to do during those follow-ups or what to say during those follow-ups or the questions to ask during those follow-ups, please just hit me up personally. We're just running out of time, okay? An A lead is somebody who's going to transact in 0 to 30 days, and they voiced that to you, and you went 5 levels deep in confirming that. A B lead is someone who's going to do it in 30 to 90. A C lead is somebody who's going to do it in 90 to 180 days. A D lead is somebody who's going to do this in 180 to 365 days, 6 months to a year. An E lead is somebody that unequivocally, no doubt in their minds, are they going to transact in less than a year. So the 365 days are more out, okay? Now I'm going to quickly tell you how often you need to follow up with those leads, okay? An A lead, you need to circle up with them 2 times a week. A B lead, you need to circle up with them 1 time a week. A C lead, you need to circle up with them once every 2 weeks. A D lead, you need to circle up with them once a month. And an E lead, you need to circle up with them once a quarter, once every 3 months, okay? That's the perfect cadence of following up. It's not completely fail-safe. However, it is going to convert leads at a really high level for you, better than you ever have if you follow this cadence. There is a reality of following up too much, and there's a reality of not following up enough. And I believe that we created the best follow-up cadence based upon people's timeline. I told you guys already in this webinar that timeline is the most important piece of the whole lead conversion conversation. And without it, you won't be able to convert at a high level. And now you can see why. When you have someone's timeline, you went 5 levels deep, you put them on this kind of a reminder system for you to have human to human, great interpersonal communication, conversations in these frequencies, okay? Now, I promised you that I would give you the appointment setting formula. I want to reiterate something really quick before we finish this webinar. You do not earn, you are never given an appointment. You have to earn it. And you don't get to ask for an appointment until you've earned it. And you don't get to ask for an appointment until you truly understand their situation completely and you have given them something that helps them in the conversation. Number one, you met them where they're at. Number two, completely understand their situation. Number three, you've given them something that truly helps them in their situation. And number four, you're tenacious in your follow-up and your promise. And when you've earned the right for an appointment is when you get to ask for one, okay? Now, here's the formula. Let's say you're in a future follow-up with this person and the timeline is here, or they voiced it as time for them, or you're in the initial conversation and it is time for them. It doesn't matter. When it is the right time to get together, and that means like they're ready to transact soon. It is time for a strategy session. It is time for us to get together and plan and talk. By the way, it could be 6 months out, right? Doesn't have to be like right now, but it's coming up soon. We got to get together and come up with a plan. This is how you do it. The first step is you reiterate or you retell their story. Hey, listen, I understand based upon several conversations with you that this is what we want to accomplish. Okay? You want to accomplish X, Y, Z, and I've heard you and I'm excited to help you through that. And then the second part of the formula is what I call the herd effect. You immediately just go into, listen, I've helped a lot of people just like you accomplish what you are wanting to accomplish. And what I've done with others like you is I have set up a time for us to go do X. Now, X is going to be several different appointments, right? Like it could be a buyer consultation, it could be a listing consultation, it could be a showing, it could be a meeting with a lender, whatever the appropriate next step is that requires an in-person appointment. That's what you're going for here, right? So you'll say, I've helped a lot of people just like you accomplish this goal. What I've done for others like you that are in the same situation as you is we'll meet and we'll have a strategy session. Is that something that you would find valuable? And that's that's the third piece of that, the question. Is that something that you would find valuable? You could reorient that into a no-oriented question. You could say, is that something that you would be opposed to doing? It doesn't matter, but you ask the question. Oftentimes, people will say, yeah, that sounds good. Or sometimes they'll say, no, it's just not the time, but in the future. And you say, hey, that's okay. I respect that. Can you give me an understanding of what you think the best time for this would be so I can be prepared? Okay. Once they say yes, you let them drive. Okay. Hey, what works for you? A lot of real estate salespeople will train and coach. Hey, well, does Friday at noon work or Saturday at 4? Don't do that. Okay, that's a sales technique that everybody knows that you're just trying to pin them down into a time. Don't do that. Let them drive. Okay. And if they suggest a time that doesn't work for you, that's okay. You can say, you know what? I'm so sorry. I've already got something scheduled at that time. What about these times? What else works for you? Okay. Let them drive. You want to give people autonomy. It's a beautiful thing. Like when people have ownership over their experience, they enjoy that experience a whole lot more. So guys, that's all the time that we have today. And man, I wish I had more. I've done this in like a 3-hour workshop before with people at conferences, and I love this. And I hope that you guys can hear from me that I want to help you more. So if there's anything that I can do to help you, please reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook or through my email. I hope that you found this valuable. We're going to send this recording out to you guys. I really hope that you just glean something that helps you in your conversations, either interpersonally or professionally here in the real estate world. All of that is going to help. So thank you so much for attending. And please check out my next webinar that I'll be doing here in the future. You subscribe to my emails, go to my website, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can just go to meetpk.co. Y'all take care. Be successful. Have a good year. We'll see you.